This is Bolus Maximus. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning in.
This is my first time hosting a podcast. How about you?
Yeah, for sure. Any idea how we're supposed to get people to listen and subscribe to this podcast?
Just by saying it?
Subscribe.
You're tuned in to Bolus Maximus with Brandon and Matt. Don't forget to comment, share, and smash that like button to stay up to date.
Welcome back to Bolus Maximus. This is a 2-minute drill. Brandon A. Denson and myself, Matt Taro, talking today about health insurance. Probably the most important conversation that people that live with diabetes have in the United States. Are you covered? How do you get your medicine and your supplies? So we're going to talk a little bit about options because we have a lot of history and experience in this department. So what's up, Brandon?
Yo, what's up?
Let's kick it off, man. Let's get right into it and talk a little bit about what the landscape looks like. So what we were just saying before we started here is, there is 5 different ways you can be covered by insurance. There's a commercial plan through work. There's a commercial plan through the government, which is affectionately known as the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare.
Obama.
And then you can be covered by the state Medicaid, which we will talk a little bit about today exclusively based on our current and personal experience. There's Medicare, which, how old are you?
33.
Yeah, so we don't qualify for Medicare. That's 65 and older. And then there's a couple different branches of Medicare. You can get commercial Medicare as a supplemental plan in addition to having the government plan. So let's talk right about being covered by work. So I know you recently got hired, and you don't have to say where you're at or anything giving out personal information. But are you covered through work right now?
So currently I'm not covered through work just because it's that probationary period. So I have to put in, I believe, 60 days before I'm actually covered.
Yeah.
So I'm on the California, as I'm gonna call it, but it's covered California or
you
Medicaid.
Yeah, it's Medi-Cal.
Medi-Cal
is the Medicaid.
Yeah.
Covered California is if you go in the beginning of the year when there's open enrollment and you want to buy a commercial plan and you're not covered by work, you can go and get Covered California. You pay out of pocket every month a couple $100, and that is allowing you to have coverage by those big companies.
For sure.
Man, I had probation too. That sounds so bad.
I know, right?
I was on probation. It's when you're a temporary employee at a job, the job doesn't necessarily, that might be one of the reasons why it's so important for them to do that. But when they vet people to make sure that they're not going to waste money on insurance plans, that stuff is expensive. True. to cover individual employees. So,
I actually want to go back. It's either 60 or 180 days.
So it's usually for me it was 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
for 90.
Right. So it was 90.
Kind of in the middle of that.
Okay. Yeah.
But in reality, I think that the whole landscape revolves around who's paying for that insurance. So technically, you're covered by the state right now.
Correct.
And the state is paying for you to be covered, so you don't have to pay out of pocket.
For sure.
I'm covered through my work, and there's money taken out, pre-tax dollars are taken out to pay for my insurance every month through my job. Yep. But it comes at a rate from the company. The company pays one overall price.
For sure. And
insures, yeah.
And that's kind of when you have the company insurance, it's they get a big break by offering all the employees insurance, so they get it at a discount, which is, especially when you have a chronic illness like diabetes, that definitely helps out a lot. With larger companies being able to allow you to get it at a lower rate than you would get it if you were just on your own purchasing the healthcare plan.
I'm gonna be real, man. I think if I wasn't diagnosed with diabetes, getting a job with good insurance wouldn't have been so important. I feel like because I had diabetes, it was more important. It was more pressing for me to get a job with diabetes at that point. So my parents stressed the fact that I needed to get a good job because of my diabetes care and that it was going to cost a lot of money. Like they knew a long time ago when I got diagnosed, 18 years, shout out, what's up? They knew back then that I was going to need a well-paying job that would provide me not with like a lifestyle or anything, but more so with the funds to pay for my medical care.
Yeah.
Because it has only gotten worse in the last 10, 15 years for the American healthcare system, where the patients are responsible for paying an exorbitant amount of money for seemingly simple things.
Yeah, no, and a lot of people I've talked to, their main focus is it's crazy. It's almost not that they like the job that they're doing, but they, I've seen a lot of people or also hear them say that they only get a job so that they have healthcare insurance.
Yep. I don't like working, but I needed jobs.
Well, let's take that back. I think you like working. I think it's just
I like to work. I got a strong work ethic. Anybody trying to hire me, shout out. Potential hires for Matt Taro. Funny enough, while I say that, like the work that I do right now is to specifically work in this space. So I hear patients every day working at Tandem Diabetes Care. If you call me and you want to get an insulin pump, like one of the first couple questions that I ask you is what your insurance, who you're covered by. So based on what you tell me who you're covered by, I can tell you what your options are to get durable medical equipment just based on that fact. And the last time that somebody paid for an insulin pump. And that's like, you're like, hey, I'm Brandon A. Denson. I want to get an insulin pump. I'm like, cool, Brandon. Are you currently using a pump? And you say, yeah, I've been using a
Medtronic 670G.
And I say, how long have you had that pump?
Since 2017, so 3 years.
So that pump's still in warranty, which means that insurance technically they're not liable. They're not responsible, nor do they have a requirement to pay for a new insulin pump because the warranty from the manufacturer is 4 years. So right now, if you came and called Tandem, which, you're welcome to do anytime, bro. I'll give you the phone number.
I'm good.
All right. If you wanted to call Tandem, let's say, hypothetically speaking, you did call us and I answer the phone, that would be like those would be the first questions I asked you. Because if you answer like you just did, then the way I'm going to present how you can get a pump is far different from if you said, I've never used a pump before, or my pump I got in 2015. So,
hey, I'm calling in. I've never had an insulin pump before, but I'm trying to get a pump.
I say, cool. Who's your insurance provider?
I got that Medi-Cal.
You would say I'm covered. You would say
Medicare.
Something. Yeah, you say Medicaid.
Oh,
right?
Medicaid. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's cool, man. You'll learn. But if you say Medicaid, I'm going to confirm that that's the only form of insurance that you have. I say, is that the only form of insurance you have? You say, yes, because you can carry multiple forms of insurance. I currently carry 2 forms of insurance right now. I'm covered by the state, but I'm also covered by my work. Don't tell anybody that.
Got it. Well, aren't you technically telling people right now?
Oh. So basically, everything we say here isn't, it's real. Like that's the situation. So before I started working at Tandem, I was covered by the state of California. I had to apply, like we talk about this right now, like tell us what you just did. Like I did the same thing that you did. I just did it a while ago and you just did it recently. So what did you have to do to get covered by the state?
Man, it was a heck of a process, man. So, it just gives me, get a little overwhelmed just thinking about it. But obviously, I had to let them know currently what I'm making in order to, 1, get approved, and then 2, to get fully approved. I once I got approved, I had to select a plan from a few different plans, select a plan that kind of fits my situation appropriately. And then from there, I had to wait to get the information. And then once I was actually fully approved for Medi-Cal, and then I had my insurance through Community Health Partner Group. I believe that's it.
I say you don't have to give your personal information.
Yeah, man.
No.
And I got one of those, local plans. So,
But so that, to be clear, and I think you made a good point, the Medicaid plans from the state are specifically given out for people who meet certain requirements. Mm-hmm. And it's typically if you have a pre-existing condition, or if you don't make a certain amount of money, or the household doesn't make a certain amount of money, you're going to qualify for Medicaid. And that's because the state understands that, like, people need health insurance. I don't know all the background. I don't know how all that works, from the government side and the state side. But as far as like the local states, like every state has their own Medicaid plan. So Medicaid in California is called Medi-Cal. And then, there's a bunch of other ones. You look at like, I'll use it just because I know this off the top of my head from talking to somebody today, Maine Care in the state of Maine. Like every state is different and they call it something else, and it's all run internally by the state. But that goes through the Maine government channel to get funding for each individual state. So you got to apply to the state level, get approved based on your income or your pre-existing condition. And then once you're approved, then you can go ahead and move forward. So this is like this is something that we've talked a lot about. And I think this is probably the most important piece of what we're going to say today is like, it was difficult for 34 and 30, like for 32, 33, 34-year-old men who are very well aware of what they need and how to do it. It was extremely difficult for us to get through the process because of how tiring it is, how annoying it is. I can't say that I didn't want to go through it. I needed to go through it.
Yeah.
So the important part of saying that is like, we need medical coverage. We need care. If you're listening to this and you don't make a required amount of money, if you're unemployed and you're worried about where you're going to get your stuff, you should be applying to Medicaid ASAP.
Look into it. I mean, you have a right to it. It's tough. It's a process, just like everything in life is. It's a process, but you're entitled to it. So make sure you look into it to get it. Whoa. I think that means your Dexcom died.
No, that means that my
Or is this dead?
That's probably dead. So the process is really specific. So what happens is the way it works is instead of letting the client or the person being covered, instead of letting them decide everything, it's decided by groups, healthcare groups. Young Brandon here mentioned which one he's covered by before. But if you really want to think about who's covered really well, you can look at what groups work with other doctors or what doctors are within what groups. So I am also covered by that same plan. And that's how I recommended to Brandon, like, this is what I did to get what I needed. This is the route that I went, and I found it to be beneficial for me. So it was easy enough. What happens is the state says, all right, Brandon, we're going to approve you for Medicaid. You're going to get covered by the state. You're going to get a package in the mail that has all of the options for you to pick who to work with. And you're like, oh, that's weird. I got to pick from a list. I can't just go see somebody. I can't go type it into the internet and find somebody. And so at that point, what did you do? You had to pick a what?
Pick a plan, selected a plan. After I selected the plan, then that's when they end up giving me confirmation that I had that plan. So I got an insurance card for that specific plan on top of the Medi-Cal card that I got. And then from there, I was able to call a specific primary care physician.
You weren't able. You had to.
I definitely had to, and that was
Yeah.
just to get, in order to get a script written. I actually did that through telehealth the other day, and
Shout out the computers.
and then that ended up being a process in itself, because it came back almost immediately that they didn't cover my CGMs or my insulin. So that was just Friday. Now it's Monday. I actually had to call the primary care physician because they were supposed to follow up with me. So, it's another one of those things, like a process. Like, don't expect them to get back to you because they're probably dealing with a lot of people.
Tons of people.
Hundreds and thousands of people. So, when we say, like, you're your best advocate, you have to stay on it. Don't expect that it's just going to get done, and this is the first time around dealing with these doctors, dealing with this particular healthcare system in California. So, I'm going to be very vigilant on it, but it looks like they ended up sending more documents that I needed to get authorization for CGMs and insulin. So hopefully tomorrow, which will be Tuesday, I'll hear some good news.
So essentially what happens is the doctor's office that you get assigned to because of the region that you're in or wherever you live is the one who deals with everybody that's on Medicaid. So the primary care physician is literally on your insurance card as your primary care doctor. Now, I remember the first time I called in Los Angeles, I called the person who was listed on my card only to find out that they were not accepting new patients. Can you imagine being subjected to having to use a specific primary care doctor, calling to make an appointment? If you're anywhere over the age of 50 and English is not your first language and you don't make enough money to qualify, or you don't make enough money to qualify for Medicaid, and this is the scenario for you, the chances of you making it all the way through, it's not that they're going to go away or the chances are really low. It's just elongated. The process is going to take way longer. Your success rate over time goes down. Like, your chances of being successful goes down. You could still do it, but like every week that goes by, your health is deteriorating, or you have a problem that you need addressed, or you have an infection, you have a cold, you need to see somebody. So
I mean, last week alone, when I was calling, I was on the phone a couple hours just trying to get it taken care of, from being transferred to individuals that weren't in the office, from calling back to getting transferred back to those same individuals. So, it's I can only think about somebody being older and them taking care of themselves, how much of a headache and a burden that can be. And then on top of it, the taxing issues that we have to deal with diabetes. So it just it's like this is snowball just building up, just rolling down this hill.
Right. And so I think like having the ability to recognize that the process is not easy is really the first step, knowing that that's going to be a process in itself. And then you start off and you find out what you need to, and you get to the right people, and then you do the right things. And then you get a card in the mail and they're like, yeah, we're not taking new patients. And I'm like, what the heck? So I had to go back and find somebody else. But in reality, the guy I ended up getting the second time around was a really good doctor. I walk into his office and I sit down and he looks at me and he says, do you have a Dexcom? And I said, no, I don't. He says, "What? I need to get you a Dexcom right now." He goes, "Every diabetic should have a Dexcom."
We're not sponsored by Dexcom.
We're not sponsored by Dexcom.
Just wanted to throw that out there.
They're not sponsored by it. We're not sponsored by us. Them. We're not sponsored by them. We could be. You want to throw us a boatload of money, you can talk to my man Brandon. But because of that scenario, I was like, wow, I just got lucky because my guy right here just was like hooked it up. Wrote me a prescription, told me where to go, gave me my insulin prescription. But in reality, his office was so overloaded. Anytime I called his office, it was like a hassle to get a hold of somebody to do something that I needed to do. I'm like, yeah, I need an authorization sent for XYZ. Okay, well, you're going to need a hold and you're going to need a wait because there's elderly patients, senior patients in the office that need attention. and that's who they're attending to. During COVID, I mean, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. So once you get aligned with a primary care doctor, the most important piece is that you need to see a specialist that's covered through the same network that doctor is in. If you don't know what a network of doctors is, a community health group is a network, and that is something that Brendan and I both covered for the state of California, which means that a doctor can join a network and their practice can join a network and be paid by the state based on those employees. Patients. Employees, patients. So based on the number of patients that they see, that's why they're like quick visits. That's why it doesn't feel like the best level of healthcare that you're getting, because in reality, like, it's kind of not.
They're just spinning people in, spinning them all, writing scripts and getting them out, you know.
And I don't mean to make it sound like there are not good doctors who work in good healthcare plans that are for Medi-Cal in general, but in Medicaid scenarios around the country. But like, shout out to the people who are putting the effort in. But a lot of the times the system is so overloaded.
It's broken.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. It's broken.
Yeah.
Just shuffling people in and out. Like you said, it's not to discredit any of the doctors, but their hands are full. Like, I mean, you got to think.
There's not enough nurses. There's not enough receptionists. There's not enough people all around the office to do what's needed to get like the real people who need help in the door, to get them treated, to get the right prescription. Like, there's so much to do that every day they're seeing so many different patients.
Yeah, tomorrow I won't even be seeing, for my PCP appointment, primary care physician, I won't even be seeing a doctor. I'll be seeing a nurse. So
An NP, nurse
practitioner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so that's like the extension of the doctors, right? They have physician assistants and they have NPs that you can see. So the level of care for something like, and this whole conversation is only about Medicaid. It's only about the state and the covered insurance. It's not good.
No,
it's broken. Like Brandon said, it's definitely broken because, we have a lot of conversations at Bolus Maximus with these men from the UK, and the way that they explain their scenario, it's not a walk in the park.
No.
I think people believe the American healthcare system is so flawed because of how it's portrayed, which it is, and it is portrayed poorly. But when you think about how things are overseas, they have their own set of struggles.
I don't think it's portrayed poorly. I think
it is.
I think it is what it is. It is.
I said that wrong. I think you're right. I think they try to portray it as something that people need.
Yeah.
But it sucks.
True. It does. There's no better across the pond with our mates across the pond, because they have some of the same issues, I think, but the issues that are completely different is actually having access to insulin. So,
Right. And so we have access, and I think it's very clear, cut and dry, that the American healthcare system, you have options. Once you're in the door with either a commercial plan, with the state plan, with the Affordable Care Act plans, you have choices at that point. You might be paying for them, but you have choices. With the NHS in the UK, like, you don't have as many choices as we have, unfortunately. So I think it's very important to recognize that the United States has choices for the technology, where the UK does not, and our friends over in the UK do not, whereas they have options to get test strips and they have options to get insulin at no cost or very little cost, and we don't have that option a lot of times.
Yeah, very true.
So that whole flip-flop is like, it's too telling of how poor both systems are. And it's not exclusive to those two countries, the United States and my friends out in the UK, but I can tell you for sure that there has got to be a better way. Universal health care is I'm a huge advocate for it. What do they say, like 180 million people covered by commercial insurance or something? I think that's the number that they keep throwing out in the presidential stuff, where they're talking about commercial plans versus Medicare for all. Everybody should have health care from the government. Like, we don't need to spend trillions of dollars on war. Sorry. We can defend ourselves pretty well, but the fact that all that money goes into defense, you're not defending the stuff that's on our home soil, like in our own bodies.
Our human people, here, our American people here.
Yeah.
And there's no shade or disrespect to our people that serve, because
None.
you know we salute you, but
Yeah,
at
for
the end
real.
of the day, we have a national problem. You know, before we even think that we have a problem that's going on outside of here, like we have a problem that we need to fix within. You know, a lot of people say, "Hey, you can't fix a problem somewhere else without fixing the problem here."
That's a really good point. Like, you can't, if you're a veteran, the VA is, you get covered through the Veterans Association, right? Like, you have coverage as a veteran. I think it's really important to understand how many veterans there are in the United States, people that have served and given their time and their life for the rest of us to enjoy freedom. We don't mean to take anything away from them, but what we mean to say is there's a lot of really terrible things that happen in the United States outside of, hospitals and on the street corners where people need help and they don't get it. And there's right now there's a national and international pandemic, which the United States has handled poorly. Like, it's like we grabbed a bunch of hot coals and we keep doing it. Like, we should have known that it was wrong to not do the right thing, but we didn't. We did the wrong thing by letting people it went to the states. You know, we're not here to talk about that, but you think about how many people are now currently in a healthcare crisis for themselves or their family. They got unemployed because they couldn't work during COVID. They don't have universal health care, which means they're either covered by the state, which is overloaded, or they're covered by Covered California or the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. Shout out Obama. If you are in that position, like, you don't have as many options. Your options are limited.
Very limited.
And that stinks, like, horrible. So, like, why can't we take care of our own people? You know? So, and I think the one thing that's really positive is Medicare. Medicare covers any American over the age of 65. You can apply for Medicare. You get covered. You should have things paid for at a certain percentage. It still costs a lot of money. Like, they're still in out of pocket for you. Not everything's going to be covered at 100%.
And somebody being older, you know, that kind of, I think that can be a scary situation, because we have to expect not everybody is retired at 65,
right.
But you know, the fact that if you are, you're on a fixed income. So, you know,
right.
If you have to come out of pocket for these devices or your insulin, which you absolutely need, you know, that could throw a wrench in everything, you know, like in everything.
Yeah. Man, just talking about it gets me all upset. So, knowing and understanding, I think what we would want to leave people with is, you are your biggest advocate, as Brandon said before, and you can do a lot to help educate other people. You can share this podcast. You can explain to them what it is that you're going through. It's really not something that a lot of people want to talk about publicly. They don't want to say, oh, I'm covered by XYZ, or this is what this and that. Like, I understand. Like, I get it. It's kind of a sore subject with a lot of people. You don't want to flaunt it. But if you're sitting at home, or you're in your car, or you're out on a walk or a hike or a bike ride, and you're listening to this right now, and you are covered by commercial insurance, think about the amount of people who live in poverty that do not have the same luxuries that we do when it comes to healthcare. And think about how many people, if you're listening to this and you live with diabetes, think about how many people live with diabetes that aren't covered.
Nothing.
They don't get anything.
Anything.
They got to pay out of pocket for stuff. If your family lost their job because of COVID, you're trying to get rebates through these major insulin manufacturers that aren't really doing jack anything for you. That's infuriating, right? Like, I would go buy a bunch of insulin and give it out in an ice cream truck if I could. I don't think that's legal. Check us out in 2022. We'll be on the road. But that's the type of thing where we know that people need insulin. And if it's going to cost $400 for you to get one vial of insulin, how long does a vial last you, bro? One vial of insulin, how long does that last you?
To be honest, maybe I probably get 3 refills out of that. So two. So we're gonna say about 9. Probably anywhere between 9 to 12 days, possibly.
In case you're listening to this and you're not fully understanding how little insulin is in a vial is usually 1,000 units, which is 10 milliliters. So a 10 milliliter vial, which is 1,000 units in the United States, costs anywhere between $300 to like $450, depending on which insulin it is and when you get it. If you get it through insurance, it's usually less. I picked up my Humalog today. I'm blessed.
It's not cheap like water.
Nah,
I can tell you that.
Hell no. So I'm blessed to be able to pick up my insulin like I did today. And at the end of the year, I've met my deductible. I've met my out of pocket. So not to push this around, but I didn't pay anything for my insulin today when I went to pick it up. And that's because of the situation that I have with my insurance. But as a diabetic, like I need to recognize that at the beginning of the year, my insurance is going to reset.
Yep.
I'm going to have a high deductible plan because I have to pay a lot. So I meet a high deductible plan, but in the long run, I'm covered better. And I chose a PPO because I can choose whoever I want to go see. So I think options are better than nothing, and not being able to pick and choose who you want to go see. So I pay more for mine based on that one simple fact. Like I want options. So I pay for my supplies from my own company that I work for. I go through insurance to get them. I pay out of pocket, a couple $100 for those. So yeah. And I think, I think that the difference between states is very small, right? There's not a lot of difference between the states and how you get covered. You apply, you get covered, you can move forward. You have to see a primary. Once you see a primary, they assign you to a specialist. That specialist will do whatever they need to do. That could take weeks. Weeks. So if you're currently not covered by anybody and you're listening to this and you're not covered by a commercial plan, you're not covered by the state, you're not covered by the Affordable Care Act, any of that. If you don't have any medical coverage right now, I would look up your state's Medicaid website, apply online, call them tomorrow, find out what the process is. Don't lie to them. Tell them what they need to hear. Is that the same thing? And then
yeah, don't lie to them. Tell them what they need to hear.
Exactly.
That is the same thing.
But I'm not gonna have, if I continue to have commercial insurance, I'm gonna lose my Medicaid, right? Because I'm making a certain amount of money now every year, so I don't meet the requirements anymore. So I'm overqualified to continue using that insurance.
Facts.
Yeah. You can reach out to us. Like, you can always reach out to Brandon and myself. Like, we'd be happy to talk more about this. I think we're going to have to, based on how long we thought this 2-minute drill would go. And now we're 35 minutes in. So if you're listening at home and you got questions about insurance, you're welcome to ask us. We'll do everything we can to help answer them for you. Our goal is to help individuals, the elderly community, the over 65 community, especially people, the Black community, people that don't understand where the healthcare system is designed to screw you. And it's set up for a lot of people to fail. So underserved areas, poverty-stricken areas, places where English isn't the first language. What are we, 25 miles from Mexico?
For sure.
People leave the United States. They leave the United States and go get work done in Mexico because of how cheap it is. Mexico isn't a poor country.
I don't think any countries are poor, especially after what you showed me.
Yeah. So Mexico isn't a poor country. It's the people that are poor. And the country itself thrives on different exports. They thrive on different resources, natural resources. So when you think about like who's poor, it's the people that live in that country. And it's sad, because they work for a lot less and they provide a lot more for their family overall, where in the United States, you don't have to work very hard to make a lot of money. You could get assigned a job and then 10 years later you get promoted 5 times. Now you're in a great position. You might not do that much, but if you show up, you put your effort in, you go home, you go to bed, you wake up the next morning, you do that stuff over and over again, you potentially could make a significant amount of money by just following the rules because of how this country was set up. Like as a white male, if I went, I like to disrupt stuff and rock the boat, but if I kept my mouth shut and went to work every day and I never said anything adverse, like people, I'm just going to blend in to the system, right? I just blend into the system. But if you look at a family like a black family that doesn't have opportunity to get the things that they need for one of their family members, they stand out. And the system doesn't acknowledge them like they do somebody like me who stands in line.
I think the biggest thing too, when you speak up, nobody knows your situation and where you're coming from. So when you speak up, it's almost like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. And it's like, you have no clue why I'm doing it, So, we can definitely save that one because this is the
first of a multi-part series. We're gonna have to talk about this again and get really into like the effects of this. So if you like this podcast, make sure you subscribe. You like our channel, you tell your friends about it, you tell your family members about it. Tell
a friend to tell a friend.
Yeah, please and thank you. This is something that we want to continue talking about because it's a big issue.
Diabetes is we're living in a pandemic, but diabetes is an epidemic, and it's been going on for years and years and years. And as much as we want to be wishful thinkers and think positive, the fact of the matter is, even when the change does come, however it comes, it's not going to be overnight. So this is something we're going to be here dealing with for a long time. And we just want to make sure we include everybody's stories. We include everybody that has experience with this. And most importantly, even if you don't have an experience with it, you still can lend a hand and help out, help individuals out. So that's what we're setting out to do.
Talk a little bit more about your experience. Talk about the pitfalls. Talk about the things that have made you successful. Help other people. Like that's the best thing that you can do. We're going to try to continue doing that. I think the next time around we look at talking about who it affects the most and how those people can be helped. So I think that's Brandon and I talking a little bit about healthcare insurance in the United States as it pertains to what we go through. We appreciate you listening. Please, Bolus Maximus is available through Instagram and Facebook. We're available on YouTube. We got a website, bolusm.org, www.bolus, B-O-L-U-S, the letter M as in Matt.org. And then please check out our calls every Sunday. The Zoom information is on our website. You're more than welcome to join. If you're a caretaker, you're a parent, you are a family member, a friend, a brother, sister, aunt, uncle, grandparent, you are a diabetic yourself, type 1, type 2, type 3C, a lot of gestational diabetes. If you live with any of that, please come join us. Like, come talk to us. We want to hear about your experience because we want to help other people. So be on the lookout for some more from Bolus Maximus on this very specific topic. Again, we appreciate you listening today. Brandon, you got anything else you want to say to the people?
Man, I think you just wrapped it up all in a nutshell. No, I'm good. Don't touch my bell.
Someone take this bell away from me, bro. As we say on our calls, keep it 100. Have a good week.
Keep it 100.
Stay safe. And Brandon's line, peace, love, and happiness. See ya.
If you don't know, now you know. Bolus Maximus is not sponsored by anybody. But if you would like to get involved or sponsor a podcast,
please reach out to us at thebolusmaximus@gmail.com. That is the thebolusmaximus @gmail, or through our website, bolus, bolusm.org. That is www.bolusm.org. We also have an Instagram, Facebook, and a YouTube channel. Please feel free to reach out.